Now, the big news of this past week was the opening of Dynamite when Jon Moxley came back. Now, Jon Moxley has been off doing the rehab for his alcohol treatment that he was very open about, and AEW announced his return for Wednesday. He opened the show just to come out and cut a promo, and it was unbelievable how he looked when he came out to Wild Thing, and he comes through the crowd there, and I'm like, he looks like Dean Ambrose. He just looks so much clearer, so much fresher, so much leaner. Alcohol adds a lot of weight. And there was that side, I don't know who to credit. I can't remember who put this up, so I apologize for the credit. But there was a side-by-side picture floating around. You guys probably saw it on social media with Moxley, like one of the last promos he cut before he took time off, and him coming out. They look like two completely different people. Moxley's face was so swollen, so puffed up, so red, and you could see it in him, And then he comes out, on Wednesday, and he's just got this clear look. His eyes are wide open. They're not squished shut. He can see. He just looked incredible. He looked younger and happier and clearer. And it's really a great illustration of how gnarly drinking can be on your body and what a toll it can take and how old it can really make you look. And I've seen it in my own family, and with my immediate family, some of them, or a couple of them. So the effects of that is unbelievable. So Moxley coming out and looking so good, I think really pleased the fans, because that means it was, at least the treatment was a success, and he's got, now he's kind of got himself straight. So he comes to the ring seemingly just to cut a promo. Before he can even speak, some douchebag in the audience yells out, "Get this piece of trash out of the ring," or whatever he said. It was horrible. And Moxley gets on the mic and tells the fan, go fuck himself, and tells them to throw that guy out. Or he says, "Go fuck yourself, you piece of shit." That's what he said on TBS. Got an F-bomb in the first 3 minutes of the show, and then he went on to say shit 3 times in his promo. So him just telling that fan to go fuck himself was pretty great. Very heartfelt promo by Moxley, which I like, because he's being honest. And I think with a guy like Moxley, we talked about this last week, if his situation can help maybe inspire or motivate someone else to maybe deal with their own problems, I really like that he's using his, wrestling celebrity status to be able to, be upfront about everything. He didn't have to say shit. He had to tell Tony Khan, and they could have just pretended he had an injury or whatever. He didn't have to divulge anything to us if he didn't want. But he chose to be honest, he chose to be upfront, and he chose to just lay everything out there, which I commend him for. So it's funny that Bully Ray, on his podcast on Busted Open Radio, says, after talking about the Moxley situation, he said nice things about Mox too, about, I liked what he said, and he looked good and that sort of thing, and props to him for taking care of it. But then he has to ruin it by saying, but I would have appreciated it if Moxley apologized to the fans for letting them down. Apologized to the fans that might have bought a ticket expecting to see Moxley, but he wasn't there because he was dealing with his issues. I think Moxley owed the fans an apology. Are you out of your fucking stuttering mind, Bully Ray? You can go fuck yourself. That is an asinine thing to say, and absolutely ridiculous. If you want to talk about, he basically said Moxley should have had accountability, is basically what he said. And that blew my mind, because what the fuck do you think Moxley was doing? That is accountability. He's owning up. He's telling everybody. His life is an open book. He's being perfectly honest about what's going on with him, why he has to leave, where he's going. And when he got back, he told us how it went and what his future plans are. He did not have to divulge any of this. He doesn't owe this group of assholes that we call wrestling fans, he owes us nothing. But he gave it to us anyway, because he's trying to be honest. He's trying to be upfront. And you think he owes us an apology? I know fans are assholes, but I would really hope nobody would be pissed. I bought a ticket and Moxley wasn't there because he was dealing with his alcohol thing or whatever. I would have not given a shit. Moxley, you get yourself right. You come back to wrestling when you're damn good and ready. Don't worry about us. We got 2,000 other wrestlers to fucking watch while you're gone. It's not a big deal. So for Bully Ray to suggest that Moxley should apologize for something that so many wrestlers of the previous generation were too fucking stupid to do. And I ask you this question, Bully Ray. How many of your dead friends do you think would be here right now if they had the courage to do the same thing that Jon Moxley did? If they would have sought out help? I know it's a different time now and help is a little bit easier to come by than maybe the previous generation, but there was a whole lot of bad decisions going around in your generation and the generation prior. Whole lot of bad behavior. A lot shittier things were going down than what Moxley did. What Moxley did, I think people can commend him for. What Moxley did was recognizing he has a problem and dealing with it. How many wrestlers of the last generation, of the past generation, didn't recognize their problem or were in denial about the problem or didn't give a shit and we're just going to keep on partying, living in the life, and if they die young, so be it, type of thing. It's a different generation now. So for Bully Ray to even suggest that is jaw-dropping to me because he has so many of his peers and friends that are no longer with us that could be here if they would have had the same mentality as someone like Jon Moxley. Many of them could be here now if they recognized that they had a problem like Moxley did, especially the ones with kids. You know, Moxley took all that into account. I got a wife and a baby at home, and I'm acting like this. I'm falling asleep on planes and waking up not knowing what city I'm in is bullshit. I got to get myself help. It took a long time for Shawn Michaels to realize that too, and it took his kid to set him straight. Mike Bennett, I think, with Maria's pregnancy, kind of got him, in order. But Shawn has a story about falling asleep, pilled out with his son on his chest and just completely out of it. And, that was when his wife kind of gave him some shit. And then he said, that's it. I'm done cleaning my life up. So sometimes it takes something like that, having a child, having a family, whatever it is, to push you in that right direction. Moxley had that. And he had the courage to do that, and he got support from everybody. To criticize that in any way is probably one of the most douchebag fucking things anybody can say. And I know Bully Ray loves the heat. He's probably just doing it for more people to listen to his podcast anyway. And to be fair, when you listen to everything he said, he was complimentary towards Moxley. He wasn't shitting on him. But just to say that was pretty surprising. And it's probably one of the worst takes I've seen this decade. We're only 2 years in, and there's 10,000 shitty takes every minute on Twitter. But this one might take the cake. Jesus. And it wasn't on Twitter. It was on his podcast. But you get my drift. Bully Ray, stop talking.